that. With our treasurer, I think what we need to do is probably with our appointment, we've appointed Alicia as a treasurer. However, if you look at the charter and we're following the charter, it says that this person is in charge of collections of taxes, et cetera, which she has clearly stated she is not, that she had no responsibility for that. So what I think we either need to do is when we, since we've appointed our new city clerk, is possibly changing Chris Mortimer, which we've talked about, to maybe an assistant treasurer. That way, Alicia can oversee her while she's, with the appointment of collecting taxes and business license and all that. So if we want to go by our charter, and which I assume.
Are you changing your treasurer, or you're adding an assistant treasurer?
We will add duties, and we will update our job responsibilities with that, because I think honestly, Alicia is supposed to be in charge of collecting taxes, and she has clearly stated she's not, but she can oversee Chris Mortimer when we move her to that, and we'll just make Chris the assistant treasurer. That's going to be my recommendation for the next meeting. So that we're following the charter correctly.
Okay.
So we'll add that to next meeting to get that updated.
So censure of Councilman Nathan Fitz, Mike Painter.
Nathan said he wanted to make a presentation. Let him talk.
Yeah, so I've got two different things I'm going to say, and this is all very important, especially that I have since found out that Councilman Painter has made a criminal threat to do physical harm to me, to Ms. Haight, which we have a written affidavit, and it's been reported to law authorities. But first, I want to read the letter from David Siphon, who is my attorney. All council members and mayor was given notice of this morning. It said, "Dear Mayor and Council, my firm and I represent Nathan Fitz. Nathan Fitz requested that I respond to the indication upon the council agenda for February 9th. The council meeting has proposed an action item, censure of Councilman Nathan Fitz. Please be advised that the proposed censure would be an invalid act by the City Council for several reasons. First and most importantly, the proposed action is a political act for no other purpose than to try to silence Mr. Fitz and his attempts to bring transparency to actions of certain members of the City Council, including the mayor, and requiring a discussion over whether the charter requires acts or follows for such actions. Mr. Fitz, as all of you are, is an elected official, and therefore he has a fiduciary duty to the citizens of the city to be sure that the actions taken by the mayor are in accordance with the city charter and have appropriate public discussion as to what the city should do regarding these actions, and provide information to the citizens of the city in order that they can make their own determination as to the appropriateness of any actions by elected officials of the city. Secondly, a censure is not provided for within the city charter, and there is no provision within the city charter that would allow one council member to censure another council member. Therefore, this proposed action is without any authority under the city charter. Thirdly, Mr. Fitz has a property interest as an elected official as his seat on the city council. Therefore, if the city council intends to try to take adverse action against Mr. Fitz, then the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution would require that the city council provide advance written notice to Mr. Fitz of an alleged allegation, and would also require the public evidentiary hearing in which Mr. Fitz could hear the alleged evidence of the alleged violation and have the ability to be represented by an attorney, and the public hearing and have cross-examination of witnesses, review of any documents and evidence. As the February 9th, 2021 agenda demonstrates, the council has not disclosed the alleged violation and also has not given reasonable notice as to having a public hearing, and would not allow Mr. Fitz to be represented by legal counsel in cross-examination of witnesses to refute documents of public evidentiary hearing. Therefore, the proposed censure violates the U.S. Constitution and would also violate Section 217 of the City Charter. Fourthly, just because Mr. Fitz is an elected official, his elected position does not mean he loses his First Right Amendment, freedom of speech. Mr. Fitz would have the full and complete right to express his opinion as to whether the mayor has followed the city charter and also express his opinion as to whether the mayor has violated the conflict of interest provisions in the city charter. The attempt to censure Mr. Fitz for his constitutionally protected speech would be in violation of his First Amendment rights. And should the city violate his rights by taking an official action to impose the censure upon him, then Mr. Fitz would have the right under 42 U.S.C.A. 1983 to bring claim for the violation of these rights. Any alleged violation by Mr. Fitz in support of the proposed censure would be pretextual and evidence of any oppressive intent by the members that vote in favor of such motion to violate Mr. Fitz's right. Therefore, on behalf of Mr. Fitz, I would respectfully request that this item be removed from the February 9th agenda. And if its members of the City Council wish to pursue such a frivolous claim, the City Council will properly pursue such claim by giving due process notice of the alleged violations, notice of a public evidentiary hearing and will be held, and the City Council hold a public hearing in order for my client can refute this baseless claims and clear his name. I will be glad to discuss this issue with in further detail. Now, to follow up on that, I've also spoken to James Bally, our city attorney.
Yeah, I've got his letter.
Highly discourages this, as well as the associate attorney that was handling this, because he said it puts the city at a huge liability. So here's what I would like to publicly say. First of all, I want to publicly comment on Council Member Mike Painter's item on the agenda listed as Nathan Fitz's censure in an attempt to silence me. I first want to say how disappointed I am that an elected official would go to the lengths of violating federal and state laws to stop me from telling the truth in public meetings. I was elected to uphold the city charter and hold others accountable to do the same. So it is Council Member Painter and every other elected official's right to do the same. Unfortunately, there's only a couple of members that seem to be concerned about the mismanagement of the state and local laws violated. This is what Painter is trying to shut down. He doesn't let the public know what's really going on, especially with an election coming up this year. By bringing violations out in public meetings, it compromises his and the mayor's reelection plans. Council Member Painter has failed to do his elected duty, and he is actually the one who violated state and local laws by attempting to try to violate my rights. In doing so, he has put this city in jeopardy of legal liability by threatening other elected officials using intimidation and threatening tactics in an effort to get them to vote the way he wants them to. And by his latest stunt to shut me up, he has put the city at even greater risk, even against the advice of the city attorney and my personal government attorney. After the reading of the proposed meeting policy last night, it is apparent he also is trying to take away the right of the council members and also the citizens over all public during council meetings. If his proposal passed, it would be a huge mistake for the city and would put the city at even more risk of lawsuits. Even his attempt to change the current policy that was put in place by the previous council, including Rhonda and Harold, was created to stop the unprofessional meetings that we all have sat through for the last year. That policy was perfect, yet Council Member Painter wants to rewrite the book, add things that will not address the problems the council is facing and will hinder the public from information. This in itself is again proof that Painter's priorities are not what they should be as an elected official. His actions should be not for personal gain or alliances, as stated in the most recent article, asking why the council has not corrected all the wrongdoings of the mayor or got the meetings under control. The key to success of this city is the council making good decision as to getting the meetings under control, and following the meeting policy should be geared toward making sure the mayor is under control and limiting her involvement as she has known for the last 10 years. It is not to put restraints on the council member or the public. Councilman Painter, his involvement in recreating this perfectly good meeting policy is another attempt to shield the mayor. His actions are a liability to this city, and his resignation could be warranted before he ends up costing the city possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuits. Another blatant attempt to cover for the mayor, to her selling her parking lot to a company that's in contract with the city. When I brought it up at the last meeting and the mayor was making every excuse so that she didn't have to do anything and I was reciting the charter, the right thing to prove one or the other's wrong would have been for either Mike, Robbie, Harold, or Rhonda, who was at the meeting, to say, let's get the charter out right now and confirm what it says. If Councilmember Painter was so concerned about these meetings being conducted correctly and things done correctly, why wasn't he the first to check the charter? Further, if he was really doing his job, he would know what the charter said, and he would know that the mayor did not follow the specific instructions of the charter in the sale of her property to a company and contract with the city. I am disappointed by every council member that sits back and covers up these violations. Anything that the council member brings to the council as a possible violation warrants investigation by the other council members, and when the facts are presented, a decision can be made. I will be the first to admit, I have been part of the meetings becoming unprofessional, but every other council member sitting in them has been equally guilty, if not more, for not attempting to say something like, hey, why don't we investigate this matter brought up, and then we can put an end to it. Any council member deserves at least the respect for the members to investigate what he says, but to do nothing and to allow the mayor to turn these meetings into a circus intentionally in hopes to deflect or reflect bad on someone else other than herself to get the heat off her is unacceptable. It is unacceptable for any council member to attempt to regard other council members in allegations without checking to see if the allegation is valid. It is not any member's job to defend the mayor or cover her actions. Lastly, I want to read a statement in an editorial a few weeks ago naming off wrongdoings of this administration, including mismanagement, malfeasance of office, of state and charter violations. I quote, criticism of these issues has appeared time and time again on this page, yet the council, obviously split with personal alliances, does not or cannot make corrections and do what is right for the people of Blue Ridge. Those elected to represent the citizens of Blue Ridge should live up to the confidence that was placed in them when they were put into office. They should do what's right for the citizens, what the citizens want. It is their elected duty. This should hit everyone elected hard. I will continue to do my job as an elected official, and I'll continue to call out any violation made by the mayor or the council member or Mr. Painter's attempts to try to shut me up. I was elected by the citizens in Blue Ridge, and I will continue to do my duty until they decide to replace me. I would encourage each of you to put your personal alliances aside and do your elected duty. Not one council member has an obligation to the mayor, friend or not, but you have an obligation to the citizens of Blue Ridge. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Painter.
Yeah, first I'd like to read the letter from Mr. Bally this afternoon. It basically states, with regard to the law of censure, there is no provision that process in the charter, neither there a prohibition. Accordingly, as the council acts as the legislature, if there is no prohibition, the action can generally occur if there is 3 votes. I have not seen a copy of the censure, so I do not know what it says or what is proposed to do. My understanding of a censure is basically a written statement contending that some act by another official was improper or unforward. My understanding of a censure also is that it does not impose any punishment or attempt to take any official action to reduce one's elected authority. If the censure proposed tonight does attempt to impose punishment or take any action to reduce or limit Nathan's elected authority, then Nathan is entitled to notice and the opportunity to be heard with council, obviously by majority vote. The matter can be continued or can remain as scheduled. That is up to each of you to decide by majority vote. Also, to circle back with everyone, while I cannot be there today, if there is any consensus that everyone would like me to start attending every meeting again, I'll be happy to attend. So I'd like to read, I've got a couple of statements. Good evening. I am not happy to make this presentation to the council, the citizens of Blue Ridge and Fannin County. This is not the way I would have chosen to approach the censure of Councilman Fitts. I would prefer executive session if that was possible. However, after multiple conversations with legal counsel, The only way to approach this matter is that censure of Nathan Fitz be included on the agenda and presented publicly. I was elected to the city council in March. Prior to that, I had served on over 25 boards, coached over 100 sports teams during that 35 years. And during that time, I've never been in any type of organization, meeting, athletic event that allowed the type of behavior that I have witnessed from Councilman Fitz. I was elected and sworn into my position on the city council to serve 1,200 citizens. With his behavior that is documented and published in the newspaper, video, audio recording, the employees, council, nor the mayor can effectively do their job. During the past 10 months, I have witnessed and been informed of multiple situations with employees and the public that are totally unacceptable. I've been informed by legal counsel that if this behavior, it has to stop and it is not acceptable. The city can and will be held liable if we allow these outbursts, personal attacks, and unprofessional behavior to continue. The definition of censure is the public reprimanding of an elected official for inappropriate conduct or behavior. A censure carries no fine or suspension of the rights of the councilman as an elected official. Hostile work environment is created by a boss or co-worker whose comments, actions, or behavior make doing your job impossible. When the unpleasant behavior has altered the conditions and expectations of a comfortable work environment. I make a motion to censure Councilman Nathan Fitz for continuous inappropriate conduct, unfounded accusations, and the creation of a hostile work environment for the employees, the council members, and the mayor of the city of Blue Ridge.
Do I have a second?
I have a question first. According to James Valley, that you can do this if there is no repercussion on his seat.
That's correct.
But according to a policy that you just sent out that you're wanting enacted on page 2, it simply says that any councilman who receives 2 censures would be removed from their office. So it kind of contradicts itself.
That's
Mike.
violation of the charter.
So you're basically, that is violation of the charter, because what the charter says is you have to have an evidentiary hearing, and it has to, you have to open it up, evidence on both sides. He would be represented by an attorney, and he would go through what the charter basically says. So
Okay.
see there again, you're trying to violate the charter.
No, I'm not.
And
Ron.
by
You-
doing
Good
this,
job,
you're
Mr.
trying-
Painter,
Okay,
first of all.
violating-
It's out of order. It's out of order.
I'm speaking,
Well, we'll
Mayor,
tell the truth.
and
Tell
I'm
the truth,
speaking,
Rhonda.
and let me speak. I let
the whole
you, I
truth.
let you speak through your entire
Go ahead. And I'll
diatribe.
finish.
Let me speak through what I'm saying, please.
Go ahead.
And what I'm saying is, as his attorney, as Mr. Siphon pointed out, and Mr. Siphon, may I remind you, was a city attorney for how many years? 15 or more years.
Why did you get rid of me? You were on the council.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. See, you're being rude right now, and that's what you're trying to say that Nathan is doing, but yet you're being rude to me.
Yes,
Go ahead.
So
he needs to
you
practice
can't
what he
have it,
preaches.
you can't have it both ways. But you know, as Mr. Bally pointed out, as long as there is no condition that would allow him to be removed from his seat, then then you can do this censure. But from what you're presenting to us, and it would be presented as evidence in court if Mr. Fitz were to sue us, is that you want 2 strikes, you're out, 2 censures, you're out. And it seems to me you're just trying to get back at Mr. Fitz.
With no evidence, not one evidence, because he said the city employees, all the city employees said that he's lying, that they don't appreciate him trying to bring them into it. Not one of them has said anything, and you're a witness to that, Rhonda.
That was said to me today by Barbie Gerald, Christina Mortimer was in there. She heard Barbie say it. And also Becky Harkins said that they don't want any part of this, that no one in the city hall has felt like they're being harassed. So to me, again, this would need to be evidentiary hearing that would be brought as a charter states, not for a censure.
You can't do it just because you don't like what I have to say. I'm
Okay,
sorry, it doesn't
Mike
work
has
that
a
way.
motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
What's the motion?
Mike,
To
can you
censor
restate your
Nathan?
motion? Yeah,
Want me to reread it?
It's to censure Nathan, Robbie.
it's to censor for hostile work environment and motion. Go ahead and restate it, Mike. Say your motion one more time.
Motion to censure Councilman Nathan Fitz for continuous inappropriate conduct, unfounded accusations, and the creation of a hostile work environment for the employees, council members, and the mayor of the city of Blue Ridge.
So I have
I'll
a,
second that.
okay, I have a motion and a second. Okay, Nathan can't vote. Rhonda,
No.
Harold,
No.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
Yes.
Okay, so I break the tie. It's yes.
Which is a conflict of interest
How's it a conflict of interest?
because you put him up to it.
That's not quite correct, Nathan. So,
That is.
sorry.
It's illegal anyways. There's not a provision in those. the
Okay,
thing, so it
so
doesn't
we're
bother
moving
me.
on to number 3. Final vote on previous zoning issue, rezoning request, Johnny Hastings Integrity Development Group LLC. Are we moving forward with this motion, this agenda item, since Mr. Hastings has sent a letter asking for it to be removed? And Chris, can you unmute Jeff and let him read the letter? I don't think I got a copy of it.
I thought we've already voted on that.
We did.
Do you want to do it by item?
Ronnie
You
made a
all-
motion, she did not get a second.
You all chose to keep it on when I wanted us to
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead and vote
sorry.
on it. I wanted us to go ahead and vote on it so that the citizens will know what's going to happen and they don't feel like they're being yanked around, because I feel like that's what's happening. But you all chose to not second me on that. So I guess we will remove it.
Go to
Okay, sorry.
number 4.
Number 4, building inspections.
I actually would like to table, make an amendment, make a motion that we table number 4. I've, because with the deflection mechanisms, the stuff I've had to deal with the last couple of weeks, I haven't been able to meet with a couple of the directors of other, trying to have a good problem. So motion that we tomorrow.
I don't know if everybody else could hear you, but I assume that was a table. I could not hear all the other words. Something happened.
Well, I'll be glad to repeat it. I'm making a motion that we table item number 4, building inspections, because I've been having to deal with this craziness the last couple of weeks, and I haven't been able to meet. I was going to meet with the surrounding counties. I've been talking to their building inspectors, and they're willing to help us and share what they've been doing, as well as some contract work that inspectors are doing for them, and I've not had a chance to meet with them. So I want to make a motion, we table it till next month.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes. Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
Yes.
Okay. 2021 election ordinance. This is your second reading. Basically, this ordinance provides for the election of the seats. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's ordinance BR 2021-02, an ordinance providing for the 2021 general election for the city of Blue Ridge, Georgia, to provide for a title for said ordinance, to establish and set the date and time of the 2021 general election for all council seats and the seat of the mayor upon the city council of the city of Blue Ridge, Georgia, to provide for the qualifying fees for said positions, to provide for the opening and closing of the qualifying period for said positions, to provide for the appointment of election officials, including the election superintendent, the chief registrar, the absentee ballot clerk, the custodian of voting machines, the chief poll manager, the assistant poll managers, and the deputy registrar, to provide for the last date of voter registration and other purposes. Does anybody have any questions? Have you reviewed it? This is our second reading, so it will need a vote. A motion and a second and a vote.
I'll make a motion, we accept it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold, Okay, garbage collection ordinance. This is your first reading. So there were several changes. Those are highlighted in yellow in your packet. Section 1 has business establishment where the primary purpose is to sell meals, drinks, and refreshments to the general public. That's had some language change. It's basically several different paragraphs. Line 33. I think it does ask for the restaurants also to have daily pickup. So this is our first reading of it, so you'll have a chance to review it more. If you have some additions or some things you want removed, you need to get that information back to us as soon as possible. So we don't need a vote there. Short-term rental ordinance, this is also a first reading. I don't know if you've all had a chance to review that. It's to remove the special land use permit. And that's the only change on that one. If you have any other questions or suggestions, you need to get those back to the attorney. Recommended changes number 8 to the zoning ordinance. Chris, is Jeff there to where he can discuss some of these things that they talked about in the zoning meeting?
Okay, I'll get him to come in here. Come in here, Jeff.
Okay, you might can unmute his phone.
Yeah. Did it unmute? 'Cause I can't hear it. Mm-mm. Just come in here. Yeah,
Okay, I'm here. I'm
he's gonna
sorry.
use mine.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey there.
Okay, you want to go over your zoning ordinance changes that you've recommended and talked with your zoning group about, zoning commission, zoning board?
Yeah, do you want me to read them all off, Mayor?
Yeah, I think if we've got questions about them,
Okay. All right, you want me to read them all or one at a time then?
you can do them one at a time. Somebody has questions, they can stop you.
Okay, this is a multitude of changes that, some the council's asked for, some asked for, and some, that, just to clean up the ordinance. The first in the appearance standards for single-family homes. I'd like to change the utility meter to the electrical meter. Basically, that's just clarifying what we mean by the utility meter. Change minimum dwelling width for R2 and R3 from 12 feet wide to 24 feet, excuse me. Change minimum roof pitch for R2 and R3 from 2 and 12 to 4 and 12. Change minimum floor area for R2 and R3 from 432 square feet to 1,000 square feet. And what this does is align it up for all the other zones. The appearance standards would be the same for all zoning ordinance in. Any questions?
I don't have any. Does anyone else
No.
have any questions on that? Okay.
Okay. If we do, we can come back. Number 2 through number 7 is basically to remove the maximum lot coverage. This is a suggestion from Roy, the regional commission, and myself, thinks that needs to be changed. If you meet the minimum setback, front, back, side, and rear, then you have a maximum lot coverage. You kind of redundant there. So we ask that you remove the maximum lot coverage as long as you meet the setbacks. And that's 2 through 7. Number 8, central business district. Change the minimum setback to 5 feet in front. Right now it's it's none, so they could build right to the property line. Remove maximum stories. Change height, feet from 60 to maximum 35 height feet. That's a building height. Permitted uses, add short-term rental in the business zones. And basically that's just adding it to the book, the zoning book. It's not in there now. And that's what the ordinance is. Area, yard, and height regulations. And all that is changing the building height from 5 stories or 60 feet to maximum height of 35 feet. And all of these was recommendations approved by the planning commission. And if anybody's got any questions, I can answer.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question. The Zoning and Appeals Board, was their recommendation after the research they did for the height restriction, it was 35 feet, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff, I do have a question on number 8, the 5-foot setback. Could that be changed to, I know sometimes those vaults, if they cannot go inside the building, could that be changed to accommodate whatever the size of the vault is, if it's 6 or 7 foot, so that it does not interfere with our sidewalks? We don't have to cut anything out in the sidewalk?
Yes, you could make it a minimum, and with if they have a vault, we can make them do the 10
Another foot or two?
to allow for the vault. Yes.
Yeah,
And
okay.
Jeff, on that also, if we do because normally the CBD, you have a 5-foot setback on one side. So would we still do the setback on the other side, or would that be considered the 1 5-foot setback? So you
No.
wouldn't have to do it on all sides.
No, this setback would be only the front. The sides,
Okay.
there's no setback. The rear, there is a setback, and that has not changed.
How much did you say the rear setback is?
I think it's 15 now.
Yeah, I think it is. It's either 10 or 15. I can't remember on CBD.
Yeah, I think it's 15 in rear, but the front and the sides was none. So this changes the front
Right.
to 5, or if you want me to change it to 10, that's up to the council.
Mm-hmm. No, I think 5's plenty with CBD. So especially since you've still got the setback on the other side. And I'm totally good with the 35 feet. I've just gotten back from Monroe County, and that's what they do down there. Of course, they have a moratorium on building on vacant lots right now down there, but I think 35 feet is what they do, and I think that's something that we definitely should go with on that.
Yeah, that would be taking out the number of stories.
Yes, exactly.
35. So
Yeah, because I think that's been one of the major things that I think our community is a little disappointed in us, and that we haven't changed that in the past, and that we've gotten such tall buildings that really aren't reflective of our community. So I'm 100% in favor of that.
I got a question, Rhonda, didn't the Roy recommend like 45 feet reduction
He had
deal
not.
several years ago, and y'all denied that?
No, he did not. The only thing that he had talked about was actually, we had to figure out if we would allow like a basement area. So it'd be, what we worked on was the footage from if you have a basement and where that would start the stories.
I got a copy
and
of
I
the
think-
minutes. I got a copy of the minutes and it talks about the height, and he made a recommendation of 45 feet.
Yeah, I don't think that was ever brought before us to vote on, so.
Yeah, I've got a copy of the minutes. I'll
The
provide
only
that
thing,
for
well,
you.
yeah, read them to me if that's
I'll
the
provide
case.
it. I don't have it in front of me, but I'll provide it.
But certainly, yeah, I mean, 35 at this point is perfect. And I know he had actually suggested, his biggest concern was if we have a basement, where does the footage start? So does it start with the basement area? And this would be buildings like the 500 building.
You know, the shame, if y'all would adopted that back then, we wouldn't have the hotel sitting down there right now, probably.
Oh, that's very true, Mike. If that were brought before us to be voted on, you're right, it would not have been. So that's
Why
very
wasn't it brought for y'all to vote on in previous administration?
It was brought to us to vote on.
good
We
question.
did vote on it.
So,
Roy Parsons brought it to the council.
Yeah.
There are minutes to that.
well, good. We'll be looking forward to seeing everything on that too. So.
Yeah, I'll send that. I'll
And,
give
and
that.
I think there are times in
So-
the past that I never, excuse me, I'm speaking, Mayor. I think there are times in the past that I simply never, I think not all emails were sent out. Certain people got emails, and And then we set a policy in
Some
place
things
that
never
everyone is
change.
just, everyone is to receive an email, and that's how it's supposed to happen, so.
I believe
Okay,
that
but
was
yeah,
done in the
but I'm
meeting.
totally in favor. I'm the one who asked for this moratorium for these things to change. I've been working with Jeff on these things. And it's time that we get this city under control, and let's get the building under control and make these changes.
Okay, so any other questions? Robbie, Harold, do you have any questions?
No.
Harold, do you have any?
No.
All right, Jeff, I guess you can send those to Mr. Bally so he can do an ordinance.
Was that the first reading or the second one?
That's not a reading. We have to have it in ordinance. He'll have to do a ordinance. He'll put it in there.
Yeah, he already had an ordinance.
Yeah, he'll amend it,
Okay, all right.
and it'll be a first reading of the amended ordinance, and then we'll have a second reading.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Okay. Fire truck contract. Mike, you want to discuss your conversations that you've had with a couple of folks?
Yeah, and Nathan and I've talked about it, and Ron and I've talked a little bit about it. Actually, Ron and I talked about it, 6 or 8 months ago. We were throwing it around, and then I kind of had it running through my mind with all the fire truck controversy going on, and then she brought it back up to me again, I don't know, 10 days ago. So I kind of worked and put some numbers together, and what I'm thinking and proposing is that the city of Blue Ridge get out of the fire department business. I think we could transfer the truck that we own to the county. We'd be then transferring the liability, the insurance we pay on, the maintenance, the training, the equipment, have them do, a community education, but the county will work with the city to provide fire inspection and education on a regular basis. The city of Blue Ridge would make we're currently already right now paying a certain dollar amount. It rotates, it changes monthly for fire call pay. I would recommend that we make a dollar recommendation to the county for, say, a 10-year period. And then the city would also make a contribution to the county once a year, the first of the year. And with that, I ran some numbers just for y'all to look at, but with that, I've basically over a 10-year period, it's the same dollar amount that we're currently spending, but we wouldn't be dealing with maintenance, insurance, liability. We'd be out of the fire business. That would be their job. It's the same dollar. I think it would be a win-win for the city. And basically, I'm making a recommendation that we allow our attorney and the county's attorney to work together to see if we can come up with some type of a proposal that fits the county, because they have to accept it, and the city that has to give it. But I think it would be better for the whole county as a whole versus us trying to figure out what we need to do with the fire truck and purchasing a new truck, etc. So
I have a simple question for you.
sure.
With doing that, I know that our fire truck stays within a 5-mile radius. Would this truck still stay within a 5-mile radius of the city of Blue Ridge, or do you know the answer to that?
No, that would be the money would go to the county. They would just be responsible for taking care of the fires and the fire protection for the city. But like I said, the problem we had, and a lot of y'all were in the meeting, if you're looking at the 30-year-old fire truck and the conditions that truck is in, it may or may not be able to go to the 5 miles. And I'm just, Nathan brought up a point about, the city of McCaysville, they're not in the fire business at all. But, and, I agree that probably we shouldn't be in the fire business. So I'm thinking that, financially, at the end of the day, it's going to be the same dollar amount over a 10-year period. Like I said, I roughed out some numbers for the council just to look at. This is a rough estimate. But if you take what we're currently paying for call pay and the purchase of a new truck, finance over 10 years, it's about the same amount of money. but then we would still have liability, insurance, maintenance, and the problem of really not being in the fire business. So my recommendation would be that we move our fire truck and all the fire coverage from the city to the county.
And
So
one more
let me
thing,
ask you a question. Did we ever
Sure.
get answers on, I've had several residents to say, y'all brought up a great point. Why are we being double taxed? And we, it was made it look like we wouldn't get fire protection if we didn't. And I know Mayor was, I think, going to get an answer on this, and, being productive with our time, I would think these are the things that we need to be checking into. Mayor, did you get an answer as to that question?
What's the question? Why we're double
Why
taxed?
of why there was an agreement put together that the city of Blue Ridge residents would have to pay city and county taxes, but yet they already pay county taxes. Why would they not got the same fire protection that the county residents got? You were going to check on that per last
I
meeting.
think they do get the same county protection. The county volunteers come
Why
out
did Kevin
and do the
Painter? Okay, well, based upon the presentation Kevin Painter given, it made it look like that the city residents wouldn't get it unless we did something about the fire department. You were in that meeting, so you know what I'm talking about.
That does not mean that the city residents would not get fire
But
protection.
then
We
why
ha-
are the
we
city of
have a
McCaysville not
governmental
having to do the
agreement.
same thing? It's
Nathan,
simple. Why did the city of
I can't
McCaysville
even
not?
talk. You don't stop. The
Oh.
city does not get double taxed. You pay 40% of what your county tax is, and it doesn't just go for fire protection, but the fire department is who handles all the fire. We don't have a place to house it. It's just a fire.
That's
truck.
not a
all we
question. You're missing the question. The question is
Okay.
why are
Well,
they
you're
paying
going to
city
training
and
on
county
Thursday,
taxes?
so we'll be
So-
able to ask all
So
of
you
those
c-
folks.
So you can't
We
answer
do
the
get the
question.
same, we do get the same protection that the county residents do. We just have it within a 5-mile radius, where now if we don't have a truck, it could be up on Suches, something in the downtown area catches on fire, it could take it a while to get to us.
I'm clear of all that, but you represent the city of Blue Ridge taxpayers.
Yes, I
Why
know
would they
that.
paying double taxes? That's the
They're not
question.
paying double taxes for
They're
just
paying
fire.
city and county
Fire is
taxes. Yes,
pretty
they
much-
are.
It's not just for fire, okay? So,
Give a breakdown of what else it is in Mayor.
okay, fire truck.
Hey,
So,
I'm not finished either. I have a comment there. Unless you don't want me to speak, Mayor, you made a face. So we in talking with Mike, we were also talking about, we've discussed this in the past, having someone who would do our fire inspections. So he and I were saying, if you actually go through with this and we give them money and we give them our fire truck, that's how we've satisfied the fact that with our service agreement with the community, then we give them the fire truck, we offer a monthly stipend to them for this, but we would expect in return, we would like for them to be able to do a yearly inspection on all our commercial properties, as well as fire inspections on new construction. And I think that's a give and take, Nathan, and I think that would kind of say, that would help us, knowing the fact that we pay county taxes and city taxes. It would give us something back in return.
Agreed. And you know what's funny is I've had 3 firefighters that came to my office and had discussions with me, and all 3 of them said, we do not need a new fire truck. That's not even valid. We think that we should y'all can pay more, but we think we should be doing the hydrant inspections and all this. And they actually outlined exactly that.
they are
That
doing
way the
hydrant
city's getting
inspections.
value.
Well, he means also like city inspections as far as new construction and
Right.
And
business inspections yearly, because that certainly is needed. It came to light that we've actually had several fires at the 500 building, and thank goodness Jeff went down. I spoke with him yesterday, and he went down and met with the 500 building managers, and they're removing that fire pit because it is definitely a fire hazard. So things like that our fire inspector could go and check on, it would be of great help.
Well, and the other thing that
that's give and take.
The other thing, Rhonda, the firefighters told me is they kind of were laughing when we were talking about the height of the buildings and stuff, is they said all new buildings are built with fire code, with sprinkler systems and all that. They said, we don't even have the issues of having to get to those levels of the building typically because all these are fire sprinklered and that sort of thing. And I hadn't even thought of that.
Well, there again, that's what the 3 of us have all discussed a little bit. We're not experts in the fire, and my recommendation is, and I'm not saying we do it tonight, but my recommendation is that we, let the attorneys work to see if we can come up with an agreement. I just think it makes a lot of sense. It's a win-win for the city.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah.
so is that a table then, Mike, until the attorneys have a chance to have a conversation about the
Well,
fire protection?
I want to make sure we're all on the same page because we're going to be paying our attorney to work with their attorney to look at if we can come up with an agreement. I've got.
Oh, do you want it to go to vote?
He would,
You want to make a motion?
I think you'd like it to go to vote that we move forward with this.
Yes, that's what I think.
So is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Do I
That
have
we
a
move-
second?
That we move
I'll
forward.
second. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
yes,
Okay, Russell Black, DDA board member. Nathan
Yeah,
Fitz.
so Caesar, like Caesar said earlier, we get an application. He's very well qualified and we have a vacant seat on the Downtown Development Authority Board. And I'd like to make a motion that we fill that seat with Russell Black.
Okay, I do have a quick question. Does Russell actually have a business in downtown or is he just lease a space? Is that what he does, Caesar?
Yes, his business is out of the same building that houses Blue Ridge Mountain Outfitters, but his business is downtown.
Okay, I didn't know if he was actually physically in that building or he just
No.
wasn't sure.
He's
Okay.
actually physically in that building. He runs his fly fishing business out of there.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have a motion from Nathan to recommend Russell Black. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
yes,
I
Okay,
think we left something out. John Suave, thank you, John Suave, for bringing it to our attention. It looks like on item number 8, to move it to an ordinance, we didn't vote on it.
you don't have to, well,
It's on an action
it's
item.
the recommended changes, so,
It's an action item.
okay. Well, we'll go back to number 8. Do I have a motion to do the recommended changes as Jeff has presented them?
Starting with me.
I'll make a motion that we take the recommended changes and ask our attorney to put them in ordinance form.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda, Harold,
Yes.
Mike, Robbie.
Yes. Yes.
yes, yes,
Biennial service installation contract CNS project. Nathan Fitz.
Yep, so hang on, let me find my notes on it. So Becky obviously couldn't be at the meeting tonight. She was going out of town, but she left all the information with me. I think she emailed this to everybody anyways. So there's 2 water and sewer items on the agenda for tonight. So the first one is the contract for the taps of the water and sewer department, currently number 11 of the agenda item. Mullins Utility was the bid winner on this contract. I would like to make a motion that we vote to award the bid to Mullins and make the start date March 1st. This was Becky's recommendations based upon the timing, meaning any taps applied for as of March the 1st would go to Mullins. The city is still supplying the materials. Customers will pay the following to Mullins: labor and cleanup charges as defined in the contract. That could include boring and patching. The customer will pay the following to the city: the tap application fee, the materials and handling, the deposit, the connection fee, which covers the paperwork processing, and surcharges. These were all charged previously.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
yes,
Downtown Depot bathroom expansion. Mike
Okay,
Payne.
yeah, I hope everybody got a breakdown. So, looking at some plans that y'all had for a downtown bathroom, let's see, several years ago, I think that proposal, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, was about $500,000. And of course, it was more than a bathroom. It was a welcome center and some different things like that.
It wasn't originally, just so you know, Mike, I was involved in that. It was just a bathroom, but the mayor said that we could get additional grants and stuff if we made it tourism related as well. And we checked around on that sort of thing, trying to get additional grants, but we couldn't find any available. And the grant we had for the bathroom, the mayor didn't sign the paperwork. And so the city of Blue Ridge actually lost that grant.
I think that's a little bit of a correct information, but
But would you
okay,
like to
so,
tell it? Because that's exactly what they said.
well,
But
It's a little
anyway, moving forward, and we talked with Caesar about this in some earlier meetings. And I put a proposal together. So we started looking out at bidding it and talking to some different people about bidding this bathroom. And of course, quite frankly, everybody is very, very busy right now and they're looking at a long period of time. So I got Bobby Bearden, who is very diverse in all of this, to go out and put basically a proposal together where that the city does the majority of the work, just like we did on the playground, where we did a lot of the work on the playground downtown and we saved $20,000. If we went out and bidded this bathroom right now to be expanded, we're talking about $80,000 to $100,000, depending on when they can get to it and do it. Bobby feels very comfortable with using some contractors that he's already worked with and talked to and purchasing equipment and using our plumber and electrician and our street department, that we could expand the downtown bathroom, pretty much double the size for $40,000. And I think going forward, we as the city need to kind of look at using what we have instead of always bidding things out, if we have the ability to do that. And I handed that out to everybody. I'm sure y'all have looked at it, and you can see the expansion of the men's bathroom would be 5 urinals, 1 toilet, 2 sinks. The women's would be 5 toilets and 2 additional sinks. Basically, they would expand the size of the roof on each side about 8 to 9 feet. And then from there, they would add 2 outer walls and build that. We think we can get that done probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks, because it's not as much of a weather problem, because we're not starting from scratch. We're adding on instead of starting from scratch. And we don't have to bid it out. We don't have to go out and find somebody to do everything. And I just think it's something we need to look at for the future. And I think it's something that would help downtown instead of a portable bathroom.
okay.
I think that's a great idea. I don't think we need to, sometimes when you start trying to get grants, you end up wasting a lot of money. And I think
Because
this
it
is a
costs
good
you more.
approach. Yeah, and this way too, we don't have to bid things. We do the work ourselves. Actually, the park bathroom where the playground equipment is located, it was
Exactly.
actually done by the city, and it was done for approximately $50,000, and we did it out of hotel motel funds.
Right.
And it looks, to me, it looks very good.
Hey, I saw Nicole had a comment or a question that popped up.
Mhm. Oh, yes.
Nicole?
I don't know if I could speak. I apologize. Yes, I was just wondering, with that project, like you said, the city public restroom, my only concern stating as the DDA chairperson on the design for GDA, will the DDA be at some portion included in that, since it does sit within the CBD district? But
I would say
also,
absolutely, yes.
will an architect have to oversee and approve those plans just for safety measures, just like any other structure?
Well,
I would say yes to both.
I mean, I have no problem of working with anybody on that. I mean, I would say that would go to Jeff Stewart and the DDA to look at all of it. All we were really looking right now is to try and get something done that it wouldn't change the looks of it, and try and get it done over the next 6 weeks, because I know Caesar doesn't want us to be doing this all summer long down there, because we've already moved the portable bathroom out there, which all the pipes burst during a couple of the cold days. So my recommendation would, it would look almost identical to what it is. It would just be a bigger structure there, period.
And has it been assessed, just a quick question to piggyback on that, has it been assessed, because you had mentioned the pipes being burst, and just any of the damage or any sort of assessment has been created for the current structure?
Ron, did you hear that?
Yeah, actually, Nicole, I did speak with several of our crew members who feel, of course, it needs to be underpinned, just as any enclosure like that. And I think that would have prevented it this time from actually freezing. So what we've talked about doing is with the portable, we would have it underpinned and make sure that everything is done correctly so that it will not freeze. Also, my suggestion was to administration for the city to possibly, when they know that it's going to freeze, maybe just cut the water off like you do, or, you know, that would be the simple thing to do when we know temperature is going below freezing at nighttime.
I think it froze over the New Year's Eve weekend, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, you know, what do y'all think about the bathroom?
I like it.
I'm open to it,
I think
definitely.
it's a less expensive way to solve this problem and get it taken
And we've
care
been
of.
waiting on bathrooms for what, 9 years now?
Yeah.
Do you think
Right.
that $40,000 will do all of it?
Uh,
Do you- Did
according
he actually
to-
get quotes from material?
He got quotes from material, different
Okay.
places, and you know, we're gonna have to have a couple subs in a couple situations, and he's done that. He actually put together a price of around 33,000. We just rounded off to 40 because I don't want us to be, you know, over budget, but
Mhm.
we're expanding the bathroom. We're not building one from scratch. So the ones in the middle will still be available as we expand. But we want to get started like this week if possible.
Okay, so do you have a motion?
I have a motion that we approve the city of Blue Ridge restructuring, I guess it is, of the current bathroom downtown, remodeling it and expanding it to a larger bathroom.
Well,
You
my
wanna
only
give
issue would be
an
with
amount?
no plans or anything. How would we do that? We couldn't start this week without plans or looks or any of that.
Well, they've put together, Bobby and them, and I'll be glad to get that to you. I did not have that available the other day. I was working more on the price structure, to be honest with you. I'm not
Well,
a.
I thought you're the one that said before we vote on something, you need to give it to all the councilmen. Yet again, you're violating your own policy once again. So would you get us stuff ahead of time, please?
I got
Thank
you
you.
all the price in the breakdown. I'm just saying the design.
I'm
but
just asking you to follow your own advice.
I'll be glad to get that to
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate
So you
that.
want to wait till the next council, you want to table this till next month?
Well, I don't think in 30 days, honestly, I don't think we're going to have everything together. I would love to start in a week, but we got to get the look together. I mean, I don't think you're gonna be able to start in a week. That's just my personal opinion.
You can do one of two things. You can make a motion to approve the amount and then send out the drawings to everyone and let them see if they approve it, or you can table it till the next time. What are you comfortable with, Mike?
I'm comfortable with getting the drawings this week and getting them out to everybody, because I think if we table it, we're going to be back with a portable bathroom.
Who can do the drawings in a week?
Yeah,
I'm assuming you research this and you have people in mind if you're stating a week.
yeah. Well, I'm saying it'll be a rough draft. It's not an architectural draft because you're going to spend another $4,000 to $6,000 probably to have an architectural draw it. But I'll be glad to get someone to draw it for us.
Yeah, well, there's some online companies that do renderings and stuff for, you know, I've used them for houses for $250, $350. I mean, even if it's elevations, it doesn't need to be a floor plan. So we don't have to have an architectural floor plan, but at least the elevation so it fits in with the surroundings and looks appealing in downtown Blue Ridge.
Well, I'll make a recommendation that we approve it based on Nathan's getting architectural design drawn.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
yes,
Okay, review of parking management agreement. Mike Painter.
Okay, basically, I think everybody knows when the park management agreement a couple of months ago, I started reviewing it and I had some issues with it. And I've talked to Zach and his wife Shelley about my concerns. And of course, they've put together an addendum to the original contract that Caesar signed. And Caesar, I did go back in the charter and look, you do have the authority to sign a contract, but does come back to the council. But Caesar has already signed that contract, so that contract is good. I asked them to prepare an addendum and see if they could get Caesar to sign it, which they did with the adjusted changes that I felt like we needed in there. One of the changes, of course, was where the council could approve a special project that on any parking space that executive parking was involved with, whether they owned. I know we had some discussion about conflict of interest of them purchasing property. So I asked them basically, would they agree that any other parking space that they were operating or they had interest in or they owned, that they would give a 5% net back to a project for the city, and the council would pick where that project goes on a regular basis or on an annual basis. I forwarded the addendum to everybody to review, and my recommendation is that we would approve the addendum to the contract, but Caesar has already signed that, so I'm really not sure what we do there.
Well, I'd just like to state that your recommendation is a violation of the state law 3660-15.1, that you can't do that. Leases and contracts with private persons for operation and maintenance of wastewater treatment plants, sewer plants, parking, anything like that must be put out for bid.
And actually, it says under subsection A, any lease or contract for the use, operation, or management is what is occurring here of any real property that is for longer than 30 days shall be, and shall means must, be by sealed bids or by an auction as provided by subsection of this code section. So
we don't want to set the city up for liability. I'm disappointed that everybody hasn't checked into this a little bit more, but I won't participate or be part of this because it's illegal.
yeah, we do have to, according to Georgia Code 3637-6, it has to be put out for sealed bid because this is a management contract on our real property. So before we.
So you're saying under section 6-3, Rhonda?
36-37-6, and it is section, if you'll look under section A.
Well, I think we need to hand this to our attorney to review. I'm sitting here looking at section 1-12, which says that we do have the power to regulate parking. And then under section 6-3 lays out the procedures for the property management.
Yeah, so parking.
Well, I think it gives us the right to do the management of it, but just we have to go about it the appropriate way in order to get the manager.
Yeah,
and I'm not comfortable with the conflict of interest. You know, I some of the things done with this whole parking with the mayor and her parking lot is very clear that it was unethical. It was non-disclosed. And again, representing the city of Blue Ridge, I will not stand for it.
So the code, Georgia Code 36-37-6 became effective July the 1st, 2018. And that does, we can handle our own parking. This is considered real property. And so with that, if it's longer than a 30-day lease, it has to be done by sealed bid.
Sealed bid.
And the fact of the matter is we do have another company who's reached out to us. And I think, again, we would be setting ourselves up for liability.
The mayor talked to them directly, I understand.
Yes.
I did, I called them.
If we accept this,
So you're saying that,
contract,
you're saying then that the contract that Caesar signed, he was in violation of the charter.
Caesar shouldn't have signed that contract, no. Sorry, Caesar, but you shouldn't have signed it. And you probably didn't realize that either.
Well, we also didn't have another parking company wanting to do it at the time either. I think that is the other part.
I think that's what has come into play is another company reached out to the city. They want to they want to participate too. They want the right to bid on it as well.
Correct.
And so I've been checking into all this and with legal counsel, and it's just a state law. That's what you have to do. You don't really have an option.
So what is your recommendation of our current contract that's been signed by Caesar and it's been in effect?
Well, obviously it's invalid anyway, simply because the council did not approve it. So what was signed was invalid.
I almost think we need to give notice, and until we put it out for bid, we need to terminate current parking agreements. So we need to do it by Georgia law.
Well, I think it was voted on in a council meeting, so I guess we need to send this back to our attorney I think we need to send this back to our attorney for his advice.
We already have, I
And he
already
can
talked to him
listen to
about
this
sealed
recording.
bids.
We know about sealed bids, but I
Okay.
think we need to send it back
You
to the
do, you
attorney.
didn't follow
So
the process.
So I think basically what we
council
need to
voted,
do,
not me.
what we need to
Oh,
do.
that's
is
what
send
you
it
always
back.
say.
No, it's not. My goodness. Okay, so we're going to send it back to the attorney. Mike, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we send the review of our parking management agreement back to our attorney.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Nathan,
Yes, but it goes on record. I am only seconding
Rhonda?
going to our attorney, not with the current company, period.
Yes.
say that again.
I'm not, until we put it out for sealed bid, it goes back to our attorney, but it goes to sealed bids, period, following Georgia law.
Okay, that's, you didn't amend but anyway, you can make that statement. Okay, Rhonda was a yes.
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
Yes.
Okay, Blue Ridge Police Department update on the car items. Harold, we have a copy of the Kenwood Communications. It's $5,441. Is that correct?
$5,441
Okay,
equipment for the new car we bought last month.
okay. Hey, Harold, the only question I have, did that cover the lettering also? I know it's not in the quote, but do we need to add money for that, for them to go ahead and do the lettering on the outside of it? Or do you know?
I don't see any lettering on it. Please, that, I don't know why it would be here,
I
but they're
think that's
going to
tip-
have to do some more anyway. They got they're going to have to order computers and cameras, hook those things up and hook them up to the computer and program the computer to operate. So we're going to have some additional expense to the equipment too.
Okay,
But as far as the lettering, I'm not sure. I don't see it on this invoice either.
yeah, I think it's typically a little over $1,000, 1,000 to 1,500. Do you want to make a motion to go ahead and add some extra so they can do that if they need to? Because I think the cars have to be identifiable.
Yeah, before they put it on the road. I don't know if they'll put it on the road without all the other equipment on there either. But we can do it, and anything that's over go toward the purchase of the computers and stuff like that. And have to come back and make another motion.
Okay, so do you have an amount you want to make a motion for? I
Well,
can barely hear you. I don't know if everybody else can hear you or not.
Hey, Harold,
I throw it up. Yeah, speak too loud.
Okay,
Harold, that does
But-
not include the lettering.
yeah, I knew it didn't include it, but I know that's about $1,000 to $1,500 depending on which size vehicle and that kind of thing. So if you want to just add to your money amount for the outfitting of the car, I think that might be the easiest way to
Let's
do
just say it up to a certain amount. How about that?
Yeah, and typically you spend about $8,000 to $9,000 getting a car ready.
What is the quote, Harold?
Sorry,
54,
the amount right now,
54.41.
$5,441.
So I'll make a motion that we prove up to $7,000, which can include the outfitting and lettering for the police department car items.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie. I know
Yes.
that amount will not pay for the computer, so you will have to probably come back and do that the next month. But hopefully by that time, Joe will have those numbers back. I think he was trying to get them. He just didn't get them back in time. Security cameras, Rhonda Thomas.
So yeah, what we're looking at doing is putting more security cameras through downtown. We've had several acts of vandalism in the last month. I've had several complaints of theft downtown, different things such as that going on. So looking back, I feel like we just need more security downtown, and this would help aid our police department. And I think it would make our business owners and residents feel more secure, especially at nighttime. So Tony got a quote from Blue Ridge Surveillance, who is currently our service provider for this, and getting just 3 more, which would include license plate readers, it would cost $5,921, and it would be with, like I said, with our same provider. And you guys should have the estimate for all everything that he's got on there as far as the mounts and all that. This would include installation, and but I think it would make for a safer community. So I make the motion that we that we purchase the 3 additional security cameras for the amount of $5,921.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so Nathan,
He's muted.
hit your keyboard.
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
yes,
Okay. Repair and replace caution lights at Lance Trucking. That was from an accident that a dump truck took out our caution light there. And
Are they paying for that?
their insurance company did. I think it is $6,150. It's in your packet. We got an insurance check from American Hallmark National Insurance Company of Texas. So
So
need a
we
motion to,
accept the money? What do we need?
well, we've accepted the money, but we need a motion to spend the money to buy a new caution light back because it's over $5,000. So I need a motion to purchase the light back.
I'll make a motion that we replace the caution light at Lance Trucking.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Okay, Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
yes,
Ada Street water main change order.
This has Jeff's initials by it, but I'm happy to discuss it if not.
Okay,
that's
go
it.
ahead.
That's all.
So the Ada Street, the water main change order, we ended up hiring out a directional bore and around two large trees due to a portion of those trees not being in the right of way because they couldn't remove them. So this is for the approval of, approval of the difference of the cost. So I make a motion that we approve the Ada Street water main change order number 1-JS.
And do you have an amount? I think it's like $5,000.
You know what, Becky emailed me. She didn't email me the invoice. Oh, you know what? It may be my email. Do you have it? Christina, do you happen to have it?
Pretty sure it's $5,000 and it's added to the other project. So that's why Becky couldn't approve it. So Chris, is that correct? That $5,000? or Jeff?
Let's see, for Ada Street water main change,
I have
Yes.
nothing in my packet. on
Jeff.
the-
Me either.
water main change,
Yes, ma'am.
for sure.
Number 17, I think it's $5,000 or 49 something.
Yeah, she didn't have the exact number. She said up to $5,000.
Okay. And the reason she needed the approval was because it's added to that job. It's a change order. Okay. All right. So up to $5,000. So is that the motion? Up to 5,000? Nathan?
That wasn't a part, but I can add it to my motion.
I think we need some kind of dollar amount.
So I make a motion that we approve the Ada Street water main change order number 1-JS in the amount of up to $5,000.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Nathan,
Yes.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Robbie.
yes,
Okay. Red light at West First Street and Mountain Street, Rhonda.
Okay, so I'm sure if you've driven through there, most everyone on the Zoom meeting has, you have noticed that there is can be quite a little traffic jam at that particular red light. And this, of course, is where the monument company is located, the lighting companies across the street. So when I first came into office, we had this issue on the same street, at the top of Mountain Street, where it intersects with East First. And what we did there is we put a turning light, which allows the traffic to go to the left or continue straight. So the turning light would allow people to go left onto Cook Street or continue straight on East, on that particular street, which would be West Second, or yeah, West First. Sorry. So what we're looking at doing is getting a red light there. A suggestion had been made for a four-way stop, and because the state road, that Cook Street had state funding and all that, you can't actually put you can't put a four-way stop there. Plus, it could also back up onto the train track since we have it on one side as well. So the idea is to do the same thing we did at the top of Mountain Street and East First, and put the turning signal light as well as the green light, and it would allow the free flow of traffic. I just wanted to see if you guys had any better ideas. Tony's actually going to get me a quote for that for the next meeting, but I just wanted to kind of pass it by you guys, see if there's any other good idea. But definitely go by and just, observe the one at Mountain Street if you've never paid attention. And it works very effectively. Pardon?
You are talking about putting a turn arrow there.
Yes.
You're not talking about doing a four-way stop.
No, no four-way stop.
A couple of people mentioned that to me, and I was like,
Yeah.
no. Okay,
And
good.
yeah, that's what we were thinking. The turning light would work effectively.
Yeah,
And,
I agree with that, totally.
so I'll have Tony, if you all are okay with that. I just wanted to bring it up to keep you all in the loop.
And Jeff, are you able to talk? I think you actually have a drawing that gives a turning lane there too, right?
Well, you really don't need to even do a turning lane because you're going to have to encroach on other people's property. If you do the turning signal, it actually, it takes that step out, which would save the city a lot of money because you've got the turning signal. So you really don't even need that, Donna. I think that would just be more of a waste of money. And I think you'd have to extend, you'd have to actually encroach on other people's property to make that happen. So the most effective way is just to simply do the turning light, because it serves the same purpose.
Okay, so you'll have that at the next meeting.
Yes, I will.
Okay, water and sewer bond resolution refinance, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to take a minute. I mean, the paper did a pretty good accounting of what went down with the bond refinancing, but I want to just kind of give everybody, to make sure that everybody really understands how big this was to the city. Alicia talked to me back in, I think, right after April 1st, right after I took office, wanted to know what I thought about Oppenheimer, what I thought about possibly looking at refinancing bonds. I remember Nathan sitting there, we were talking about it, and I said, hey, if we're going to do it, this would be the year to do it because of the low bond rate. So we basically gave her permission to start working on it. She did a tremendous job. And I know Becky and Barbie did a lot of work to help her. But the bottom line, we started 2020 with an additional $2.5 million of debt in the water and the sewer department. By refinancing these bonds we had two different sets of bonds, one at 4.5% and the other at 3.2%. By refinancing them at a 2.1% and reducing it from 37 years payout to 33 years payout, we saved the city $2.5 million. And to me, we started the year at an additional $2.5 million of debt. So we hear a lot of talk about people, what are y'all doing with all the infrastructure problems? I just want to make sure everybody understands. To me, this is a big step forward because literally it gives us an additional $2.5 million to use on the infrastructure in the water and the sewer department if we just so desire to do that, and we haven't increased the debt for the city. But I just want to make sure everybody really understands what a big win that was for us. Also, because of the work that Elisa did, and anybody who was on the call heard that, we had a 0 rating prior. Now we have a AA rating on the bonds, which is why the rate was so low. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that. because to me, it was a big win that we set aside $2.5 million of debt. We reduced it from 37 to 32 years, and it gives us a little bit more leeway with the AA rating to go get some additional money if we need to.
Yeah.
Oh.
And if you were on the call, you do know that Oppenheimer did compliment Alicia numerous times on what a great job she did. And I believe they would hire her away from us if they got the chance.
Oh, I do want to comment on something too. I did read the newspaper article, and it said that Nathan and I we did not participate. We didn't vote on this. We had voted numerous times to move forward with it. We just simply weren't at that meeting. I was out of town, and I'm sure you were working. It was a special call meeting. So we supported it 100% the entire time. It's just that we weren't physically there for the actual last final vote, but we had voted every other time. So just wanted to point that out.
Thanks for clarifying that, Rhonda.
You're welcome.
Okay. Meeting procedure changes and update.
Okay, I like to, I know Rhonda and Nathan had some comments about what I submitted to them. Well, I got a copy of the letter that I sent with this stuff, and I want to take 1 minute and just read it. It just says, "To all, this was a letter just to the council." And somehow what I sent to the council has already been sent out to the community this afternoon prior to the meeting. But anyway, that's fine. To all, as you know, a committee was appointed to work on updating our current meeting rules and regulation. Along with our committee, we had input from Donna Thompson and her group, both previous and current council members, a local attorney, business owners, and just plain old hardworking residents. These finally closed our final draft of the council and the public civility policy. I have also enclosed the 2014 Rules of Procedure and Order of Business and Meetings Ordinance that was created by David Siphon, our previous city attorney. This ordinance was paid for by the city, and according to him, and I've got a copy of the email, is consistent with the consistent with the provisions of our current charter. So why should we spend more money to change? Since we all, as a council, are trying to save money and do what is right for our citizens, I think we should readopt this ordinance, which was done away with by the previous council. With the addition of Robert's Rules of Order, I am confident we'll be able to complete the balance of this year as we work to reorganize our outdated charter, which was adopted in 1989. My goal is to finalize and get the council's approval at our March meeting. Please review and let me know your thoughts and if you have any adjustments and you would like to see. It's not a final draft. It's strictly a draft for y'all to look at. And we took Rhonda's input. We took previous council member Angie Ark's input. We had Harold working on it, a current member. I worked on it. We had 3 employees work on it. I sent it to Donna Thompson's group. Hey, I did everything I could do. And we paid David Siphon, our previous attorney, to adopt it and make sure it was with the charter. It was moved a few months later because evidently the council didn't like what he come up with, and they just threw it away and wrote something else. So that's my comment on that. But I feel like we've got to restructure. I think we're all in agreement that we need to work on our policy and procedure. And I think we're all in agreement that we need to start working on redoing the charter that was done in 1989.
So, Mr. Painter, I got a couple. No, go ahead.
So I was just going to ask you, this is where I wanted to point out on page 2 of what you, and I'm totally great with that ordinance that David wrote. I thought it was wonderful. He did a great job. I'm very impressed with David. So I'm totally fine with that. The part that you sent that's the code of civility and for the council, just a couple of things that I would have concern about. The second one being on page 2, I think this would be a violation of our charter because it says, in the case that a second violation would occur and you have to censure someone, on the second occurrence in censure, they would be asked to resign or voted to be removed from office. And of course, that goes against what our charter states.
Now,
So
our charter, Rhonda, says that we have the right to remove an elected official.
You do, yes.
Yes, for wrongdoing.
But
So,
there
Mr.
is
Painter,
a-
my question to you is, the only person that has violated state and local law is you and Ms. Whitener.
Yes.
You and Ms. Whitener.
Okay,
That's strictly
Nathan.
an opinion.
And how did we violate state
Okay,
and
let's
local
get,
law?
hey,
Yeah,
excuse
pages
me.
of
I'm asking a
Order.
question. He
Point
directed,
of order, and I'm calling
state
it.
your point.
If people
State your
can't
point.
get under control, they need to.
State your point.
You need to get point of order and get yourself under control, Mayor.
And I
So
asked the
here's what
question.
is the.
No,
here's
no,
what-
no, you're
here's
out
what
of
I'm
order,
saying.
Rhonda. Your
Council
point of
member
order.
Mayor is removing from a meeting that is censured. It says that this will, and that's what I was saying with the, definitely, there is a process. It's not in a policy such as this. It's part of the charter, and there is an evidentiary hearing that you have to give them notice. You have to have an evidentiary hearing. And
That
it's
is-
more, it's more, it's not as simple as what's
State
written
your point of
here.
order. Is what you
It's
need to
not-
do.
It's not that
You called the meeting. You stopped it. So
but
you
you
state
were-
your point
but
of
you
order.
were screaming and yelling. So
No, I asked him.
What
And
they're
he talked
accusing
above
me
me.
of doing, the mayor's just done.
Okay, so can I speak again, everyone? Because I was the one originally
You
speaking.
are the one that said point of order. State your point.
My point was you were interrupting, which you're doing again. So can you get yourself under control?
I'm under control.
Okay, then let's
He
get
made a
back to,
statement. I asked the question.
then let's move forward. So
Okay,
that
I
would
asked
be-
the question. I've not had my question answered.
Mayor, please, are you okay with yourself now?
You,
Are
you go ahead and say what you have to say because I want my question answered.
I'm talking. So that
hear
would be that would be the biggest thing that I would ask on this, that we look at that and make sure that we follow the charter. And then the last statement and in fact, you just I quoted you, you said, Mr. Painter, you said that someone has already released this to the public. My question to you is, do you have a problem with the public knowing what we're doing? Because to
No.
me, we should be completely transparent. We
I
should not
agree
have a problem.
totally.
We
Absolutely.
shouldn't have a problem with the public knowing. But let me tell you what you put in this policy. You said on the very last one, there should be no public statements, letters to the editor, or on social media, or any organization, advertisements, emails, texts, or announcements regarding official city business.
Which policy is that? Is that the councils or the public?
So
You wrote it, you tell us.
That's the councils. That's a
So-
recommendation for the council's policy, not the public, Ms. Haight.
no,
Well,
I'm
Mr.
saying-
Painter, I'm just gonna
Okay,
tell you
Rhonda
right now,
has
you're
the
not
floor
gonna
right
silence
now.
me.
Nathan, you're out of order. Rhonda had the floor.
As a public official, I have every right to tell the public what we're doing.
do.
I have every right to post on social media what we're doing, unless it is something that is covered by, if we're talking about something in executive session and it is privileged information, I do not have the right to give that. I don't have the right to go on Facebook and
Correct.
say, oh, we're going to bid this property for X amount of dollars. I don't have the right to do that, but I have every right to go on Facebook and say, here's what's going on in the city. Here's what we're doing. I don't want to keep the public quiet. I want them
No.
to know what we're doing. I don't want to keep them in the dark, and they feel like we're being kept.
That's part of this whole issue with this
Rhonda has the
century.
floor. Out of order, Nathan. Rhonda has the floor. Let
I
her
will
finish.
never vote on
we
this
can hear
as it
what it-
is, because it is simply taking away, it's saying that we're not going to be transparent to the public, and I will not vote on
So,
that.
hey, we can go back
Okay.
to yours and Miss Arp's proposal that y'all worked on all weekend. We can go back to that if you want to. I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm actually fine with the ordinance that David Siphon wrote being in place. I just feel like we need to fine tune this code of civility, because it's a little extreme. And even to be honest with the cell phone usage, I'll be honest, I talked to our attorney today about it, and I have a Dexcom monitor. I have diabetes, and that's what I use. My cell phone, my Dexcom is connected to my stomach with a needle that's permanently inserted. It gives me updates on my cell phone when my blood sugar is either dropping or it's going high. So I'm going to have my cell phone on, because
I
it's
have
my
no-
lifeline.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I know we've had some situations where council members are texting people in the audience during the meetings. I don't think that's appropriate when we're voting on issues.
Mhm.
So let me make a couple points. And Mr. Painter, these are questions for you. And you know what? I agree actually with everything in here almost, other than the violation of the charter issues. But your very first one says, be considerate of others, treat them with respect, refrain from using insults, profanities, and other disparaging remarks or in written communication. However, you made a criminal threat to me to Miss Haight this week and said you were going to drag me out of the council meeting by the hair and beat me up, which
I
is a
did not say
criminal,
that,
which
Nathan.
is a
That's
criminal
your opinion
offense, and
on
I
it.
have an affidavit. So
Good,
you need to
good.
you
good.
need to heed to your own actions is what you need to do. You need to practice what you preach.
Good, Nathan.
So I'm not done, Mr. Painter. I got a couple more for you.
You don't have the floor, do
A
you?
council member should never participate in the deliberation or vote of any matter knowing his or her own financial or personal interest. However, you didn't do anything about the mayor selling her property to a vendor of the city that she met through the city out of her own personal gain, competing with her own city for the parking funds. How can you possibly sit here and say that and not do anything about what the mayor did? I would love that answer, and so would a lot of people in the public.
Nathan, I'll be glad to review it, but you need to give proof. You need to provide.
I gave you proof. I sent you an email and I notified the entire council of the charter violations. It was very black and white. You ignored it. Because you and the mayor in cahoots and you ignored it. And why? And I think it may be because your wife's working for the mayor, I found out, which is a conflict of interest in my opinion. So I'm not done. Let me ask you a couple more questions.
Sure.
So you said that you're all about saving the city money and stuff, yet you're going and trying to censor me for telling the truth, trying to silence me for telling the truth, and running up, wasting taxpayer dollars, but yet you can sit there and say you want to save the city money. How hypocritical is that? Could you just tell me?
Well, we'll see if it costs the taxpayers money or not, Nathan.
Oh, it's going to.
Okay.
So let me continue. There should be no public statements, letters to the editor, or social media with organization, advertisement, emails. Again, Rhonda already made a point. We are supposed to be transparent. We should not be hiding things like y'all have been hiding these illegal actions of the mayors, and I do not agree with that.
Wait a minute. Nathan has the floor, so I might give him a minute to finish.
I'm sorry. Nathan,
Yeah, I just said I don't agree with that, and we're supposed to be transparent. Your whole censoring of me, you still didn't come up with one thing I had done. You're doing it because I'm exposing the truth, and you can't stand it.
I'm talking about, Nathan, you sending letter to the editors and writing articles to the newspaper, but everybody has
I
read.
did a letter to, that's my First Amendment right, Mr. Painter. You need to know your rights, and the charter is what I think. You need to do a little homework.
Okay, I'll be glad to.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we ready to move on to the next agenda item?
Sure.
Why the increase in business license fee, Mr. Painter?
Just brief, we've had several letters, and it goes back to what we've been talking about tonight. Our ISO ratings are not what they should be, which cost everybody additional homeowners insurance. Our building inspections are not up to par. We need some more surveillance downtown, which Rhonda just pointed out to us. Things that we need within the downtown city. Our city business license had not been updated since '04. And we looked at the other cities around us and tried to come up with a nominal fee that we felt that was consistent with everybody around. And our intent is, just as you've seen tonight, our intent is to give the citizens of Blue Ridge better protection and better service for their dollar. We have a situation talking about businesses. We have 412 businesses in the city that have water. We only have 331 businesses that have a business license. So if you look at that, that's about 80 businesses. We have a lot of problems within the city right now with business license, tax payment, and all the different things. I mean, if you're looking right now, for personal property, which is businesses, we have $70,356 that is delinquent over the last 3 years that we're trying to collect. Right now, for 2021, we have 80 businesses that they're delinquent license. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Between delinquent taxes and the 5-pay that we're 5-paying, we have $208,000 of delinquent already this year. So the problem is we have, everybody wanting everything, but we have a communications problem somewhere with, paying the business license, having a business license, and paying the taxes. So my goal with increasing the business license is to help increase the services for the city of Blue Ridge and the 1,200 citizens who live here.
Okay, are you finished, Mike?
I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. Downtown Park and Turf update, Mike Painter.
Very quickly, I talked to them today. They're expecting the turf and everything to be in sometime Friday or Saturday, depending on weather. They will start putting that down next week. It's going to take about 8 to 10 days from start to finish to clean that up and to finish it. Once it's done, we will finish the landscaping around it, and we will have a incredible playground downtown. I think everybody in the city, including the tourists, will be happy with that.
Okay, City Ballpark to host girls softball.
Yeah, we talked about this last year real quick. Right now, we're going to have somewhere, Caesar, this is for you, I guess, 70 to 100 teams in Fannin County from Wednesday through Sunday, June. The dates are June 20, let me make sure I got the exact date. June 22nd through the 25th. So it should be a windfall to the downtown businesses and the restaurants and everybody in the city of Blue Ridge. But we're going to have somewhere between 70 and 100 teams, and we'll be hosting the ASA Women's Girls Softball World Series. And I'm hoping to make that an annual event.
Okay. Gerard and Davis report, Mike Painter.
I'm going to take just one quick second on this. I had it on the agenda last time and we never got to it because the agenda was terminated halfway through. But, you know, if you go online and look at this report, the city spent, as Rhonda pointed out, $40,000 to look at 3 different areas. And, you know, the different areas were money, whether the mayor lived in the city, and the ongoing question of her residence and all. And if you'll go and look at it and really read it, on page 1, it was the ongoing question regarding the mayor legal place of residence. So I went in and pulled just that section out because I wanted to look at it because it's been brought up recently. On page 6, in order to qualify, a person has to live in the city for 12 months prior to qualifying. And if they win the election, they have to live in the city during that 12 months or for their full term. If they move out of the city, they have to resign as a previous council member did. On page 7, it states, Fannin County Board of Elections, Mayor Whitener has been registered to vote in Fannin County since 1992. Her change of address to her current resident, 266 Orban Lance Drive, was made in 2008. We find on page 9, we find nothing to suggest that the mayor residency is any place other than 266 Orban Lance Drive. That's on page 9. And their final recommendation says this form, I believe for all practical purposes, this matter should be put to rest. And I just want to make sure with 11 months left to the next election, we don't go down the path and spend an additional $40,000 to try and determine who lives in the city and who doesn't live in the city. I think that'll all be taken care of at election time.
Well, can I also point out something with that, Mr. Painter? On page 5, can I ask you to look at something?
Sure, I got it right here.
On page 5, it says, after reoccurring allegations against the mayor that she does not live in the city of Blue Ridge and that her apartment/loft residence above her furniture was improperly permitted. Furthermore, it's been noted that the mayor cast the tie-breaking vote in changing the city's zoning ordinance to allow apartment and loft homes, including hers, above retail spaces. Arguably, the mayor should have recused herself from this vote due to the appearance of impropriety as her own loft apartment was implicated by her vote. However, having the appearance of impropriety is not illegal per se, though a conflicted vote on a zoning matter may render the approved zoning void. We have made an informal inquiry as to the available permitting records relating to the mayor's residence. However, guess what? No documents were given to him. The city's zoning administrator was unable to find any documentation. The mayor candidly acknowledged that she's aware of the allegations and that her documentation, that she has documentation properly showing it was permitted. The office, however, did not receive the documents. And it says, let me go to the next page. It says, while it appears, well, my pages are out of order. Well, I've read this report 100 times. It pretty much says that they recommend the city council further investigate it, if you read through this whole report. And
If you'll read the final thing, my question is, did they suggest any violation?
well, it says that it was a conflict of interest, and also they suggest the same things that are going on with our council today not getting along are the same things that happened in 2016. Guess what? Nathan Fitz wasn't on the council in 2016. It was Rodney Kendall and Giarp and all those who had the same issues with the mayor doing the same illegal things. This has been 10, 11 years of mismanagement.
What are those
The same-
illegal things?
Hey, excuse me, I'm
Okay,
talking, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Excuse me.
Go
I'm
ahead.
talking.
I shouldn't have interrupted you.
So, yeah, you shouldn't have. So the city's charter, it says the recommendation, the city charter should be reviewed to do modern municipal structure, which we're doing. A city administrator or city manager should be hired to take charge of the day-to-day operations. The mayor fought it, but again, we're doing it. The mayor and council should immediately seek dedicated ethics training provided by GMA, which I agree this group could and the last group, but again, there's one common denominator. Council members should be returned to their previous held commissioner roles, which we took over ourselves. The mayor was against it. Council members and the mayor should act immediately to improve their communication with each other and put the city's best interest while putting aside their personal rifts that have developed. Updates on city business to the council in open session by the mayor and in the future, and the city manager should be retained. And the mayor never gives updates, never responds to anything. So I wasn't even on council. So you can try to say Nathan is part of all this, but the same issues we had is the same ones the previous council. And guess what? The previous council before that, every single member of the city council says the exact same thing about the mayor.
And I asked you one question.
You sure can.
Don't we have two council members, Ms. Haight and Mr. Herman, that's both been on the council for the last 10 years?
They sure have.
Okay, that's all.
And just to be specific, I was not specifically mentioned as having any conflict issues with the mayor. I believe the couple of council members were pointed out with that, but I was not one of them, nor was Harold. So.
But you've served on the council for 11 years, correct?
Yes, and it said that there was no personality conflicts with me. That's in the report. So.
Rhonda, I think his point was why didn't you do something? But you were lied to about so many things and manipulated.
Well, no,
you didn't know. You
no.
assumed it was the truth.
And I had tried to follow what Gerard and Davis had put forward with the last council, and they had suggested we actually have workshops, or not workshops, maybe they wanted us to have retreats. They said y'all should have a retreat where you have people come in and work with you on conflict resolution. And, you know, because I think it would, like, things like that have happened today would not have happened. I think we would have sat down with one another and discussed it individually, and we wouldn't have brought censures before people. We would discuss things openly, and we would learn how to have better conflict resolution. But that was one thing that I did try, and it was to no avail. I brought it up at, I know at least 2 council meetings, and no one, and I even asked Kelsey to get something scheduled for us, but it was never voted on. No one ever agreed to attend any sort of retreat that would allow for us to have this opportunity to work on.
Well, I think part of it, Rhonda, honestly, is just getting the honest truth and like not pitting council members against each other and members of the office against each other. I mean, that seems to be the common.
I think that was one thing that the report, you know, that the investigators felt that there was definitely a lot of tension between people, and that it could be better resolved, that we could work together in a, you know, in a better manner. So that's kind of.
And again, this was without us even being on council. So there it tells you the problem.
I would think unless we have something else to discuss over Gerard and Davis, I think we all know what is said. I think we need to probably move forward, put this matter to rest. I don't think anyone wants to bring up any issues and try to say, you know, if the mayor wants to say, wherever she lives, whomever, whatever, that's up to you. That's on your own conscience. But I know that I've lived in town, and I know that Harold does. I know, and I know these things. So that's up to that individual. And I don't think it's up to us to spend a lot of taxpayer money. And I agree with you, Mike. We don't need to spend any additional monies that's money that belongs to the city in order to do this. Let's, if someone really doesn't live in the city, they need to resign. So
Right.
it's on them.
Okay, and I will say the CO for my building was sent in, so I don't know why they didn't have it. But anyway, there's several other comments, but I'll wait and let those be later. Downtown parking, Nathan Fitz.
Yeah, so the downtown parking, we discussed the parking earlier with the parking contract, and I had already came up, but I was just going to make a point. The parking contract and them moving forward with the parking is illegal. We have to do it by open bid. I had to understand Mike had lunch with the people we have our current parking contracts with last week and stuff, and he had put it on the agenda, and I was just going to make a statement that I will not vote on, and I disagree with it, and we're going to follow the process in which we legally are supposed to follow it, and I wouldn't have part of anything else.
Hey, I'd like to say, just to recant that, Nathan, I totally agree with you, but I've got additional information that I'm sure we'll submit to the city attorney, but we're paying him. Let's let him make that decision.
Agreed.
I just don't like to make a comment. I want the city attorney, we're paying him, let him do his research, and he'll make a recommendation.
I agree 100%.
So your information, Nathan, did you get it from an attorney?
Mayor, as you know, I've hired David Soffen. He is our attorney. He's been reviewing a lot of things that the city's been doing.
Did he review that? That's the question.
He sure did. He's actually sent us the code for it.
Okay.
Yeah, David Soffen, of course, was a city attorney, like I said, for 15 plus years. And I did contact him myself. Mr. Bailey's been out of town for about a month. And I contacted Mr. Soffen, and he agreed to help me answer those questions at my own expense. Let me add, this will not be charged to the city. I'm paying for this myself because I want to make sure that it's done correctly. So yeah, this has been actually reviewed by an attorney who is actually trained in municipal law. Let me add, Mr. Bailey is not. So
Why did y'all get rid of him?
Because the mayor asked us to.
Yeah, the mayor asked us to. So she asked us to vote for a new attorney.
She said because Speaker Ralston was from Blue Ridge and that
that
Mr.
is
Bailey
not
was his pick, a mayor do not lie.
Yeah.
She said that we would get stuff, the Blue Ridge would get stuff that we would not get otherwise. And that's why she asked us to choose Mr. Bailey. And we said, if we're going to get that much, absolutely, we're going. I don't know that we've gotten one thing that's exactly what happened, and the mayor knows it.
I think that may be some bad information.
No, why don't you go ahead and lie about it?
But maybe there's
you did
okay,
and you did ask us to vote for Mr. Bailey to be.
Well, I
did,
actually
Mayor.
appointed
You sure
the attorney,
did.
I think, and
You
you
sure
voted.
did.
We did appoint at your recommendation.
Yep.
Like you
So you actually had a chance to
As
vote
we
it out.
did, Sony, as we
Just
did
like-
many things.
Just like you recommended the city clerk. I didn't interview the city clerk. I don't even know the city clerk, but I took your recommendation. So, and I voted for her.
Well, and that's a
Just like I did-
recommendation
just
from
like I
others
did the
too.
attorney, just like I did the attorney.
Good,
So-
thank you. I appreciate that. We've
Let's
done a
move
good
on.
job and
Let's
we're
move
happy
on.
with both. Okay, so festivals, events for 2021.
So Caesar actually covered this. I didn't know he was going to talk about it. When I was in the DDA meeting, pretty much the DDA board was just wondering like when the city council would come up with dates when we would start allowing festivals and stuff in downtown. So this is exactly what Caesar had already discussed.
Okay. And as you know, Caesar, part of that could be, if we are under state regulations that we can't do festivals over a certain amount. So we'll just have to see as we move forward as to what new state laws come out, or if any. With
I apologize. Sorry.
With the second round of COVID, and they're starting to see an increase in Georgia, it just makes me wonder. So I guess we'll go from there. So Architectural Review Board.
Yeah, so I actually just wanted to put this out for discussion because I would like to put it on the agenda as an action item next month. I think we need to go ahead and turn the architectural review over to the DDA and stop talking about it and actually have something in place. Does anybody have an issue with that?
So this would just simply be for the central business district.
CBDs,
Yeah,
yes,
because
that's
I would
correct.
never feel comfortable doing that in a
No. See,
residential.
well, they can only do what's in the
Yeah,
CBD
exactly.
anyways.
So, yeah, I would feel very comfortable with that, and I think it would, that would protect the integrity of the town. And
Okay.
most cities have that, just like when I just came from and I researched with them, like Monroe County, they do. So,
But they would come back to us and make recommendations,
Yeah.
correct?
yeah,
Correct.
and then we would say, I guess we would probably have to have an ordinance in place that pertains to that, I would think.
Well, the city council has the final decision on anything. The DDA does the work,
Right.
makes a recommendation, they bring it to us and we get final approval.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, water-based drinking standards.
Did everybody see the article that was out last week? One of our local Facebook groups kind of posted it on Facebook for everybody to read. They forgot to tell everybody they were looking at the 2012 to 2017 report, not the current. And they also failed to publicize on their Facebook that the city of Blue Ridge was in compliance of all state and federal guidelines. And what they also forgot to really look at is the city of Blue Ridge's drinking water is rated basically a 6. And I just want to read you a couple of the other municipalities, what the rating is. So I know this is kind of probably a scare tactic about our infrastructure and our water. And, you know, I'm tired of people printing things that are, if you can't say something good, don't say it. But anyway, so Athens, Georgia, where most of our college students are, we're going to need to get them out of town because they're a 9 and Blue Ridge is a 6. Atlanta is 9, Blairsville 7, Calhoun is 10, Cummings is 8, Dalton is 9, Gainesville is 10, Ellijay is 8, Woodstock is 8, Winder is 10, Rome is 14, Marietta is 10. You know, at the end of the day, we have great drinking water compared to our neighboring cities.
Hey, it could be a good thing they put it out on Facebook then. They're showing them how good we are.
That's what I'm saying. I cannot believe it. But what the post was knocking, you know, tearing our water department down and what we're doing. And I kind of scanned the state, and I think there are only 5 cities in the whole state that have better drinking water than we do. That's why people are wanting to move to Blue Ridge and live in this city. But I just wanted to kind of, you know, my theory is if you're going to post something, post the whole story, not the partial story.
Okay, anything else?
Not on that, no.
Oh, and I will say, Mike, you didn't touch on this. I know that one of the things that came out of that post, I had several people calling me about the fluoride that we add to the water. That's a state law. So a lot of those folks wanted to know if we could remove that from our water. It's state law at this point in time, so we can't remove it.
Yeah, they just kind of left it like we had bad water and we hadn't done our job and everybody ought to run out of the city of Blue Ridge. I mean, if you're going to post it correctly and post the whole story.
Can we post that somewhere so that people can see it then, since it's such good numbers?
Yeah, I'll be glad. I'll send that out to everybody and you can send it out to the public as well as Christina and everybody on her email, so we'll have it.
Sounds
I
good.
think Becky was going to put something out there.
The newspaper will take what we're talking and I'll be glad to provide all the information to them as well.
Okay, number 29, Farmers Market Complex, Mike Painter.
Okay, touchy subject, and I've spent some time talking with Harold. I've spent some time talking with Rhonda and Nathan, and you know, being here all my life, the farmers market, you know, has always been the farmers market and the fall festival. And I know Rhonda's worked diligently the last few years trying to develop that and do something with that. And quite frankly, for the last, I don't know, Rhonda, you correct me, 2 or 3 years, it's pretty much been a parking lot and a place for a couple of the companies to, you know, UPS and Citizens to park their trucks and things like that. It's been wide open, and I've discussed it earlier with the liability. I've been working on a proposal, and and I can say this publicly, I've had discussion with the school superintendent as well about taking the farmer's market and turning it into a city complex, which would include swimming and racquetball and all the things that are complex. So I'm in my election, I talked about a YMCA, and I'm not saying we cannot do a Y, but it might be better to have more of a Blue Ridge Community Center complex. But several things when you start looking at it and you start looking at our city, if you look at the age of our residents and in the county, and you start going and looking at facts, you know, swimming is the fourth most popular sport in the United States. 65% of Americans don't know how to swim. And if you look at the people swimming in an outdoor pool in a calendar year versus an indoor pool, 41% of children age 7 to 7, 28% of children swim in a swimming pool in a calendar year. 72% of the people who swim in an indoor facility. And you think about that, I looked at the numbers and I couldn't believe it, but if you go to Michigan and some of the cold parts of the country, they're not swimming in May, they're swimming June, July, that's it. But what I'm getting at here, I feel very comfortable that we can use that complex. And I sent out to all the council members a rough draft, as I always do, on, it came from CSC Design. They charged the city nothing for this, and it is rough, but they took the current acreage of the farmer's market and they did a little drawing of what they thought it would look like. I talked to Mr. Gwatney a few months ago. Him and his wife and daughter have already been to Athens to look at a swimming event. He feels like every child in Fannin County up through 3rd grade ought to be able to swim and have some type of a certificate. If you look at the numbers of people who die swimming and drown each year, I think it's something for our community. We really only have the summer swimming pool at the park open about 3 months out of the year. The city actually loses money. I know it's a great draw during that time. I've also talked to the county rec department. They're 100% behind us. And I think if we got the county on board, the school system on board, and the city on board with our current property, we have no debt. We can actually get some grants as well as donations. We can structure this so people can donate money to it each year, deducted off their taxes under a 501c3. I think it's something that the city and the county can all work together. And in 2 or 3 years, we'll have something to look back that will be used for the next 100 years.
I agree with you, Mike. And I was talking to Tony today. He was saying too, and Caesar has actually mentioned it, that we could also turn the city park that we have now into a skateboard area, because there are a lot of skateboarders, and this get them out of town. And there's one actually in Blairsville, I believe, and you could require them to wear helmets and all that. Whereas here in town, they're on the sidewalks and they're not wearing.
I was fixing to say they're right beside of Chester's every Saturday morning.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And so that, you could always take that and turn it into something like that as well. And I believe that I've talked to Bobby Bearden, who's on the school board, and Nathan and I actually met with the county commissioner, and this was when he was running for office, and he thought it would be great for us all to work together, especially with something like an indoor pool. So hopefully he's still on board with that and would work with us. And I was going to say, we even had talked about this as far back as the last council. Angie Arp had brought it up at the same time to do like an indoor, and work with the county and the school system. So this is something that's been kind of going along for a long time. And I think it's a great idea. Location, I think we just need to figure out the best location, but overall, it's a great idea.
Well, it's close to the high school. The students can actually walk to the facility. And you know, so basically what I'm asking for is to look at putting a Blue Ridge Recreation Authority together. I've talked to several people within the community and I would include 8 or 10 citizens within the community, the current council, as well as the current recreation board and the school board, all to work together on putting this project together. And I think, you know, I've ran some numbers and budgets. I've been to the new YMCA in Gainesville. They've got a new aquatic center in Calhoun. When you look at these facilities and you look at our aging population and you look at, you know, we only have 1,200 citizens downtown. If they don't want to shop, and I know you don't want to hear this, Susan, but if they don't want to shop, what do they really have to do other than to play in the park downtown? And this facility would be something that would be there for 100 years. And so I'm basically asking permission to start working toward this and be able to have some meetings with the school system and the county government and start putting an authority together. I actually had a person in Blue Ridge call me around the middle of December to ask me, could she donate to my facility? And I said, I don't have a facility, but she was looking for someplace to donate money. And Alicia has already done the research that we can set up an account within the city, would be a straight 501c3 donation. So the community could donate money into this facility along with the county and the school system. So I'm basically looking for permission to try and move forward.
Yeah, and hey, I will be glad to assist you on that too. I'll be glad to, because we can go to meetings together. Since it's just two of us, we wouldn't be breaking the sunshine law. So I will be glad to join you if you would, you know, if you'd like that. So
I want that. I mean, like I said, this is an opportunity that, you know, and it may be, it'll take anywhere from 1.5 to 3 years based on the different people I've talked to on the construction, but we already have the facility. That's the great thing, the property.
okay. I don't think any of us have a problem with it then.
So so can I make a motion that
We're in discussion, so if they, you can't do a motion, you're in discussion. So as long as nobody has an objection to you moving forward or says not to, I don't think you do it in a formal motion though.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So we have executive session for personnel and then we have land on there, but I don't know if it qualifies or not because I have no information in my packet. So I don't know what that is.
I'll make a motion. We enter into executive session to discuss land and personnel.
Okay.
I'll
Can I
second.
interrupt you guys? for a
Yes.
second? Some of the public wanted to comment and answer answer some questions. They wanted the email read from the Johnny Hastings.
Christina, I can barely hear you. I don't know about everybody else. You may have to talk a little closer. And I've seen those, I saw those that said they wanted that email read.
Yes.
So I don't have a copy of it, but can we send them a copy? Are they happy with a copy sent to
Jeff
their
have a
email?
copy? Is Jeff still there?
Yeah, he's still here and
He can read it or we can do whatever.
I've got it in front of me if you guys want to hear it. Let me
Yeah.
know.
That'd be great.
We're struggling hearing you.
She said
I
she
am.
has it in front of her.
I have it in front of me. I can read it to you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please let this email act as formal notice of our intent to push our hearing with city council to next month's agenda. Please confirm receipt of this email. Johnny Hastings, managing member.
I guess my question to him is he realized it's not a hearing from this point out. The hearing's already taken place. All we were doing today is actually voting on the issue and there will be no more public discussion about it. That part was closed. So I think he needs to understand the procedure. At this point, it's just simply a vote, which I think we should have done today because there will be no further discussion unless it's amongst the council members. So he needs to understand there is no hearing. He's already had his hearing. And now it's just left up to a vote.
Right.
So,
And then we got, one other thing was for, let's see. So the business that pays their license have to pay for the ones that don't.
No.
No. And I don't know where that came from. That was published in the paper, I think, as well. No. we're collecting, the ones who haven't will either be paying or be losing their business license. And if you go look at the Georgia statute, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to that business. But no, that's never the case. That was never the case.
Yeah, one of those only won't catch up only.
Is anybody hearing the interference or is it just me hearing it?
Oh, I hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, is
Somebody's
It's
ordering at a fast food restaurant.
I
That's
can't
not
hear.
me.
Yeah, I
Hey.
muted
I'm
it.
in my living room.
is somebody unmuted that's,
Yeah,
on
I
a
muted
speak-
it.
on a-
It was, Robbie.
oh,
So I
Ah,
muted it.
she can multitask.
Well, there you go.
The next one is, the art festival is outdoors. Someone check out Ask for Docs hosted by Fetch Your News. And I second the comment about the business license. Many festivals have continued outside safely. There are options, but those who have submitted application have not communicated any information if any events are allowed to proceed. Also, political events were approved, allowed to proceed, unmasked, but community-based events have had no communication or update. And that was that for that part.
We had a motion that we go to executive session. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was that all of that I was
Oh, the public
scrolling
comment.
through them?
The last one was, why did you postpone the Hastings hearing one more month? You are penalizing the ones who have paid the business license by raising the cost so significantly.
Is that two different?
Two different topics in one statement.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay.
Okay.
And do we have information for most of these folks? I don't know. I think we do. I think in looking at it, so if we didn't get something answered, we can get it answered and sent back to their email. I think Nicole's on here, Donna, John Thompson, we've got his. If not, if we don't have your email, call City Hall and leave that with Christina and we will send you an answer because there's several of them on here.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion. We go into executive session to discuss land and personnel.
I'll second
Land.
that one. I'll second.
Land,
Acquisition, you got to specify.
acquisition, yes, acquisition.
Okay.
Mhm,
And personnel.
yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Harold? Are you yes or no? Can you hear me?
I don't think you can.
Harold, can
Harold?
you hear me?
Oh,
We're going into executive session.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rhonda,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Robbie. I don't know if we lost her a minute ago.
Mhm.
I don't know if that cut her off, but I'll try to call her back on my phone. Okay, so we're going out of the meeting and we've got to go into the other Zoom meeting. Is that correct? For executive session, and then we'll come back to this one.
Yes.
Okay, that could be interesting because this one was very hard to get into. Okay, all right, thanks. We'll go out of executive and into the next one. Christina,
Yeah.
are we in there?